Carolina Senator Vicki Sawyer. Join me on Fridays at 11 a.m. for our show, We're Just Saying. We'll discuss state and local politics, and as always, take your calls here on News Talk WSIC.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
I need some real talk. Oh, I need some real talk. Give me some of that real talk.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. Another week in, another week past. The NAR settlement is official. Every MLS across the country, well, no, not every MLS, that's not the way to say it. Every Realtor association across the country, do they have to follow the rules? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay, they do have to actually follow the rules. Yes. Okay, and the new rule being in the MLS, you can have no mention of compensation whatsoever.
No, you cannot. Again, I'm going to say once again, I don't understand why not. This is not the issue we have or had. But yes, the new rule says, number one, some of the rules, right? One of the, I think the main one is you cannot have any compensation to the buyer agent on MLS. So it has to be through email, text,
on your own firm website.
Billboards or on your firm website, nothing coming from MLS. So even Zillow and Realtor.com, they feed from MLS, so they cannot have it. But yes, in your firm's website, yes. On paper, email, then yes.
So that's the shiny object from the settlement that everyone's focused on are commissions. But I think the bigger one, probably hurting buyers agent, I don't want to say hurting, but makes the business operational side more challenging. Written agency agreements have to be in place prior to showing your first house. Is that right?
Yes. So this is a major change, and it is because of NAR. So the North Carolina Real Estate Commission still allows a verbal agreement, but because our MLS is owned by the National Association of Realtors, we have to follow the rules. Yes, our local. Yes, sorry, our local. I was going to say NAR again. Our local realtor.
Yes.
We have to follow the rules. We have to follow what the settlement says. So because we are realtors, we do have to sign a buyer agreement. But again, my firm Compass has a touring agreement that we can have everything signed with the buyers, potential buyers. And it's a temporary thing, but at least it gives you a chance to get to know each other. I always say, I've always done the verbal agreement. I know many agents make people sign right away. I never wanted to do it because I want people to be with me, tour houses with me, ask questions, and trust me, and then sign the agreement.
I think that's been one of the interesting parts about all of this settlement stuff that's come out, right, even over the past couple of years, and really what's been shifting in the industry. You've got these different parties, right, involved. North Carolina Real Estate Commission is the licensing agency in North Carolina. You've got local MLS, where in our case is owned by a Realtor association, local one. And so by being required to have that membership, it requires those additional rules and subject to that governance and those types of things. But one of the things that we're not going to open the can on today because we're going to let it develop a little bit, but the what they're saying, the three-way agreement, and there are lawsuits now in place that are coming forward saying, hey, we don't like that. You have to be a member of the national, state, and local realtor association if you're going to be a member. That's an interesting concept. That's a long, long road on that one too, just like this settlement as far as commissions go. But there will be more, I think, in the future. Then I don't think this is going away anytime soon.
I know it's going to be a fun transition until everything gets figured out. And I still hope that by the end of everything, the great agents stay and the non-great agents change careers. And I'll be there on the other side.
The thing that everyone really is wondering about, did this week become any easier for buyers in the marketplace at all?
I mean, interest rates are down a little, so in terms of money, yes.
Is that easier given the supply side for the marketplace, or how's that going?
No, it gets harder because, again, I've been saying that for months. The second interest rates come down, buyers will show up and start searching. So multiple offers, the whole craziness.
Has that been happening in the past week, even alone with the bump in rates?
Yes.
And what was like the prevailing rate that are you seeing quoted out there right now?
Let's remember, it depends
Everyone's
on credit
different,
score. Everybody's different.
Disclose. Yes.
I would say 6.5 is pretty doable without buying points. So
are you seeing the buy down stuff still out there? New construction
not
clean?
as,
Are you seeing that?
Yes, actually, yeah. For inventory, 4.3, 4.5 interest rate for inventory ready to go. Yes, I am seeing that.
Okay, and then how about your sellers? What was the week like for your sellers? Did you positive, everything good? They're in complete control and dominance of the marketplace, or what?
They know the changes. They're asking questions, but so far they understand the benefit of offering commission. So it's just the conversation that has changed, but they understand the benefits, and it's just for me, what I've seen is just an extra step. But all listings that I've looked at, all of them had either the listing firm or the seller offering commission. Again, it's one extra form, nothing changed. And actually, one of my new buyers, because of course they heard it on the radio or saw on TV, they're like, okay, what's going on? Why does it change? And I actually said, look, just to explain, in North Carolina and in South Carolina, we've had the agreement for, I don't know, many, many years since I started. And I said, please look at the current new contract, the buyer agreement, the brand new one after the settlement, and look at the one we had before. It's pretty much the same thing. The only thing is that the new one has in bold, I understand the firm or the buyer agent doesn't work for free, da-da-da-da-da. But I said the rest has been there forever. So
just more disclosure.
It's more disclosure and in bold because
we will now bold and highlight and all capitalize the terms for you.
I never understood, and I promise no client of mine ever heard me say when I was their buyer agent, no one has ever heard me say that I worked for free or that it didn't cost anything. I never said that. Many agents did say that. So now it's in bold and blinking lights. Agents don't work for free. This is, again, main difference. So did it truly change? I don't think so. Not much.
Okay, so that's buying side, selling side. Do you think you've seen every listing on market under $500,000 in Mecklenburg County?
If I've seen in person?
Yeah. Have
sure.
you physically seen all of them?
All of them.
Because it's not that big of a number. And what we're talking about now, more or less.
And it's easy, like, to look at, like, 1,500 houses in Mecklenburg.
Okay,
sure.
So you're saying the number. Last week's more or less 500,000 less by county, active coming soon in the local almost. How many were last week? 1,453. Okay, so do you think it'll be more or less this week?
Which made me so upset because I want to hit the 1,500. I'll keep saying 1,500. If I were playing for money, maybe not, but we're not. So I'm going to keep pushing the 1,500.
It's a complete gamble is what you're saying.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to say more.
1501.
Okay, 1501. We're going north of 1,500. That's what the goal is here today. Okay, more or less. We'll have that segment toward the end of the show. Also, Maintenance Monday.
Yes.
We've got to take care of the asset. We got to make sure that we help that value stay up and continue to go up over time. You got a good tip for us today?
Yes.
Wow, that's a good way to start. But we've got a bonus today because we've got a friend here with us.
Erica
McIntosh, Premier Permits of the Carolinas, is going to be joining us in the next segment, and we're going to be hanging out with her. Always good to talk about Duke Energy. Always talk about the Lake Management Division.
Major thing
process.
In our area, yes.
Oh,
Lake Norman, Lake Wiley, so yes.
You know, if you're looking at a waterfront property, you probably are wondering, does it come with a dock? Does it come with a pier? How about a lift? Maybe a beach? Maybe a little bit of everything? Well, we're going to find out and hear some stories, I think, about how that's been going and what's the future looking like for piers and permits and docks and everything else going on Lake Norman. Stick around with us. Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate, Justin Ckezepis. More to come.
More of today's Real Talk with Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, heading into the new work week, big changes on the way in the weather department for the middle of the week. For our Monday, looking at a partly cloudy sky. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 80s. Just the low chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Most of us will stay dry, though. But for the middle of the week, are you ready for a little teaser to fall? Humidity will drop off, dew points into the 50s, dry weather, and temperatures cooler, too. Mornings will be refreshing, afternoons near 80. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Serenity Now Massage Therapy.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree, Lake Norman, and Mooresville has free music this Thursday featuring a concert by Third Rail. Third Rail presents their high-energy show of rock and roll cover songs, while Langtree is open for food and drinks. Event time is 6:30 p.m., music begins at 7, and the Langtree shops off exit 31 from I-77 are open all day. Grab your lawn chairs and enjoy Langtree Live this Thursday night with a free concert by Third Rail. Brookdale Village in Huntersville continues their Friday night Live Under the Oaks concert series with music from Dukes and Smith. The Dukes and Smith Band provides an energetic mix of pop, rock, country, R&B, and beach music. Come and enjoy all Brookdale Village has to offer with the free Dukes and Smith concert beginning at 6 p.m. Friday at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Downtown Mooresville presents the Downtown Summer Sidewalk Sale this Saturday. Join locally owned businesses for hot sales. Come shop till you drop in downtown Mooresville on Saturday. Davidson presents Concerts on the Green Saturday. The Dave Matthews Tribute Band plays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the Davidson Village Green. Enjoy this free performance on Saturday night in downtown Davidson. On Saturday, September 7th, see the top riders from the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship as they compete on a custom-built course at ZMAX Dragway. The playoff opener features a two-moto format for the 450cc class and the 250cc class, promising plenty of drama and excitement the moment the gates drop. The Super Motocross Fan Fest is a pre-race event taking place from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. where you can see the teams practice, prepare, and qualify for the playoff round and is included with your event ticket. Don't miss the biggest Super Motocross race of the year. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Today's Real Talk continues now. Here are your hosts, Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. Also joined now by Erica McIntosh of Premier Permits of the Carolinas. Good afternoon, Erica. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. And I apologize. So I interrupted, but then somebody else interrupted. You got a question on Instagram
so
here,
go
Claudia?
ahead. Yeah.
You want to read it? You want me to
read it?
Will you read it in Portuguese?
After you're done,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Do you think we will see more agencies come up with flat fees or any other creative ways to circumvent the commission aspect? Do you want to take a shot at this one first, and then I can give some thoughts?
Sure.
You tell me.
I will say I'm sure. And there are firms and agents and people opening their own firms trying to come up with different ways to do it. There are already flat fees or firms that allow all they do is post on MLS and then the seller takes care of the whole thing. Of course, we have the major big iBuyers. Zillow gave up already, but I keep forgetting OfferPad, Open Door. People have been trying, but I think at the end of the day, and of course I'm a realtor, so I'm going to say that, but I do think that it's a major, major thing you do in your life, tons of money involved. So I do believe that you need to be careful who you hire and how much they know and how much they will help you. Can you pay a flat fee? Can you find someone to do it for $500? Sure. But I don't think you can expect the same kind of service.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I think as far as limited service agreements, those have been around a long time. That's not a new thing in North Carolina. That's certainly a service that's already offered. You pay someone a flat, for example, this isn't an exact number. You got to contact the individual broker and firm for figuring out their pricing. $500, let's say, put it in the MLS, and that's it. That's the only service you get is put it in the MLS and then walk away. That isn't new. That's not something that's kind of exciting or anything like that. But circumventing, I don't know about the word circumventing because I do think the market is always going to react one way or another. And this is where I lean into. I do think the answer is this firm exclusive concept. I believe because you can as Compass market a commission being paid. It just cannot be advertised in the actual MLS because the MLS is owned by the Realtor Association.
But again, am
I don't think that's circumventing. I don't think that's circumventing. though.
Yes, and I don't know if it's because I am a workaholic. I don't see a big issue. If my client says, hey, I like house number 1, 2, 3, it takes me 5 minutes to text or email the agent saying, hey, are you offering commission? Is the seller offering commission? Yes or no? No. I go back to my buyer and say, hey, this house is not offering. Let's talk about it. Or this one is. I don't see it as a big problem. My only issue, and I hope I am okay to say that, is I wish it was the opposite. I wish instead of, because it was on MLS just for us. So it doesn't change anything to the public. So we don't know anymore how much and if commission is being offered. The public never knew how much it was being offered. So instead of removing it from MLS, I think it should be part of the public view on MLS.
That's an interesting point.
Then, if you're talking about disclosure, then yes, everybody says, oh, okay, my buyer agent will make 2%, 2.5%, 3%, 20%.
Well, and it's still all negotiable between the buyer and the buyer's agent, how much the buyer's agent is charging the buyer. Those numbers don't automatically match as far as what a seller's willing to versus what a buyer's willing to. I will say this, and then we'll get to our guest. I like the fact that this question is being asked, not because of the question itself, but because we're in a time of shifting in this market, probably more since 2008-ish timeframe, right? The last time the big market correction happened, we'll say. And this one being in a different light. Yes, financially, capital costs more. Yes, property, home prices, land value, cost of labor, materials has all gone up much more at a rapid pace than anybody anticipated. But we are still in a moment of shifting in the market from a process and how people and how the industry acts and how the sector works. So I like that people are paying attention to that right now. I think that's an incredible opportunity. Again, having the right professional in the marketplace is crucial to that. And part of just the professional and the nucleus, like a broker in a transaction, you got to have other vendors that know exactly what they're doing. A specialty concept that is very unique to our marketplace, both North and South Carolina, permitting of docks and piers and going through that process with Duke and going through arguably, again, a transaction that is most of the time for most people the most expensive thing they will ever buy, in addition to a luxury item like docks and piers. We're going to bring on Erica now. Erica McIntosh of Premier Permits of the Carolinas. Do you serve both North and South Carolina?
I can eventually. I'm still learning all of North Carolina. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I started out with the concept to go in both directions, and maybe one day we'll get down that way. Just right now, all the work's been right here.
Okay, and all the work being here. So you've been in Denver since the 80s, and there's still enough work here. You think that there's still plenty here to do? What's the market like for you on the dock, permitting, pier side? And tell people what exactly, when I say that, what do you guys do?
Well, first question, yes, there's always work to be done. It's going to fluctuate like the market or with the market, like any economy. And so, right now we've been in a heavy build stage with all of the contractors just being knee deep in everything that they sold and worked on over the fall and in the springtime. And so now is the time to be looking, if you're looking to do a build, repairs, modifications, anything you're looking to do, permitting in the fall is the most perfect time to start.
Why is that? Is that because like the clay on the bottom of the lake is soft, or what's the reason for that?
No, the timing behind permits and getting on your builder's schedule. That's your primary focus, because it has nothing to do with the water or the soil or anything like that. It's the time that it takes to process permits, and not from a county standpoint necessarily, or even from Duke. We can talk about that, but it's, we're looking at about a 6-week bare minimum to get permits.
You talk about that on your website, premierpermitscarolinas.com, under your frequently asked questions. I would imagine, is it the buy side or the seller side? Like, who contacts you most of the time in transit? Is it a buyer like, I got to close tomorrow, can you get me a permit? Is it like that? Or what typically
Most of my work comes through the contractors and word of mouth, and then a homeowner that I have used before and that they've referred me on. And because I'm independent, we have contractors on the lake that have someone in-house that does this in their operation. My service is a luxury service that is for the homeowners, for the contractors who don't have somebody on the regular, or don't have maybe that volume yet, that they have somebody in-house processing. But it's a service that that I provide that I think is great. It takes the headache off of the homeowner. It takes the process away from the contractor and their standpoint, and just puts it in my hands, and yeah, that's where I get most of my business from.
Can I ask you a question, or do you want to ask
Yes,
one first?
I
Okay,
do.
go ahead.
You said 6 weeks. Let's say someone has a dock and they need to renovate it because it's in it. You were saying that it takes about 6 weeks from beginning the permit request to renovate. What about?
This is just for permits. So let's back up just a little bit. When we talk permits, and let's talk about the process, it can all vary on what you're doing and who your contractor is. What's your scope of work? So that's going to define what type of permit you're getting, how much information we need. Do we need to go to engineering or not? I mean, with the changes in the building codes over the last 2 years and the requirements behind the counties and the jurisdictions, engineering requirements have increased substantially and are mandated and required just to get permits now, where they weren't required until the back end, until an inspection time. So that has changed the process in up front. Now, I have some really great firms that I work with, and we can turn them around really, really quick, and that can help the process. But it just, again, depends on the type of permit. If you're wanting to do riprap and seawall, you can consider that 60 days minimum just for your state. Oh. So it depends on where you're at in the process and what you want to do. Now, the counties can turn them around relatively quickly. Duke will quote you 30 days. So when a client asks me, how long does it take to get a permit? What I tell them is, I could get it quicker. It could take a little bit longer, but I'm going to tell you what each county is going to tell me and what Duke quotes and what their time frame is. Because once I submit, we are at their mercy until it gets turned around, and then I can put it back in Duke's hands, and then we get it all wrapped up.
Can I ask you a question without you getting offended?
Oh, no promises.
When you show up, let's say you're on the barge with, the excavator arm that's all ready to go to dredge and everything like that. And again, I'm going to say it this way, and I'm not a sexist. You show up as a female on the job site in a male dominated. Do you have ever anything does that matter at all whatsoever in this game for you?
Every job I've ever had has been mostly in the male dominated industry, food and beverage. I started out working on the docks at the boat rack, and that was my first summer job, so that doesn't bother me at all. Never.
Just show up with a pinch of nasty right in the cheek, just, we're here to do work together. Is that how it goes?
That's right.
And I think for me, it's the same thing other than clients, but the trades are basically, it is a male world. So we come and we show them who is the boss.
Would you say you do good
fine.
Quality work, Erica? How would you describe the quality of your work?
I take a lot of pride in what I do on a daily basis. I make mistakes. I'm human. We all do. It's a learning curve, and it's always changing, as any area would be. I mean, there's always something to learn, but I always take the most pride in what I do and the service that I provide for my customers. So,
and we're probably gonna have to cover this on the other side of the break, but how did you get into this? Like, you just play in the dirt? You were playing in the mud one day and said, hey, I want to do this? How did that happen?
I actually was looking to own my own business for a very long time, and I didn't know what it was I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to be around water because I grew up here on the lake. It's part of who I am, and it's important to me. I love Lake Norman. I love the life. I love the lifestyle that it brings. But I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go sell boats? No, I don't really think that's really my thing. So a friend of mine actually mentioned, he said, we pay people to pull permits for us, and I think you would be great at it. And I said, for real? Because I had not even mentioned it to him that I was interested or looking for a change in my life. And when he approached that, it just fell in my lap, and I ran with it.
Okay, Erica McIntosh, PremierPermitsCarolinas.com. Premier Permits of the Carolinas. Coming back.
There's more of today's Real Talk with Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis on the way from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, heading into the new work week, big changes on the way in the weather department for the middle of the week. For our Monday, looking at a partly cloudy sky. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 80s. Just the low chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Most of us will stay dry, though. But for the middle of the week, are you ready for a little teaser to fall? Humidity will drop off. Dew points into the 50s. Dry weather and temperatures cooler, too. Mornings will be refreshing. Afternoons near 80. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
We're at Black Automotive. The Buick Encore GX is now at a low 0.9% for 36 months or a $3,000 rebate. Or the Buick Envista is also 0.9% for 36 months. And there's more here at Black Automotive Station.
Is your AC ready for the summer? Horn Heating and Air Conditioning is in the Lake Norman area to make sure Mother Nature is no match for your system. Experience the feeling of awe. HornHVAC.com. Schedule your maintenance today.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Are you in constant pain, under constant stress? Just need a moment away? Repeat after me. Serenity Now Massage Therapy. SerenityNowMassageAndWellness.com, with locations in Mooresville and Cornelius.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshLawFirm.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock and sports streaming company Fubo TV is scoring runs today. It's up 15% after a federal judge late Friday blocked the launch set for this week of Venue, a sports streaming channel co-owned by Fox, Disney, and Warner Brothers Discovery. The temporary injunction gives Fubo the chance to keep pushing its lawsuit, arguing the new service would harm its nascent business and raise prices for customers. 2 months after 2 former executives with Apple were promoted to help run the software and tech services division of General Motors, that division is cutting 1,000 jobs. Sources tell Bloomberg affected workers are software engineers and services employees. The company's been hiring rapidly in software development for years as part of its push into electric vehicles, self-driving cars, and software-related services. Stocks are higher right now and working on a multi-day win streak that for the NASDAQ and S&P would be the longest of the year. If these gains last until the closing bell, those averages will be up 8 straight days for the first time since late 2023. Erica Herskowitz, Bloomberg Radio.
We're back with more of today's Real Talk with Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. More or less, that's coming up next at the last segment of the show. That's where we look at, are there more or less units available, active and coming soon in the local MLS? 500,000 or less, because wages matter. By county, we start with Mecklenburg County. You locked in your, I didn't even know if I asked you if you locked in your number yet.
I did it. I'll keep saying 1501 until we can get to 2,000.
Until the cows come home.
Yes. I just learned, by the way, I'm guessing is this a Southern thing?
Saying?
Yes.
It's Brazilian. It's Portuguese, isn't it?
Sure.
Is that what
Because
happened?
I learned, because someone was asking about my accent, I'm like, it's clearly from Alabama. Like,
yeah.
it's clear.
Strong.
I'm clearly, and they're like, yeah. So I learned I'm fixing to go home.
I'm fixing to.
I had never
You
heard
don't do the G on the end, though. You don't do the
Fixing.
G. Fixing.
I'm fixing.
I'm fixing.
I'm fixing to go to the
Lose the
supermarket.
G, Claudia. Lose the
I'm
G.
fixing. I don't even know how to do it. I had never heard it.
I'm fixing to learn a little bit more about docs, permits, and
Yes,
peers.
I'm fixing. I'm fixing to. No, see, it does. I can't do it.
No,
but
the
yeah.
G is proper, but drop it. Erica McIntosh of Premier Permits of the Carolinas is here hanging out with us today. Erica, let's say someone gives you a call and says, hey, I'm going to build a new house. I want to build a dock. I know it's good. I know I can do it. What do you say to them at that point?
First thing we want to do is look at your shoreline. There's a lot of variables that come into play that people have bought a dock a lot, and it's a vacant lot, and they go, I see this person's got a dock and they've got a dock and we're just going to put this dock, and they think it's all kosher. And a lot of times what happens is you might have a property that backs into a cove and it actually runs up on an environmental shoreline that is dictated by FERC and Duke. And when that happens, I've have several clients that has happened to where they've invested a lot of money into a property, and that shoreline ends up being what's classified as an environmental shoreline, where it has, whether it's some type of vegetation, wildlife that lives there, and it cannot be disturbed. One of the biggest ones that people see is what's called the button bush, and they grow like weeds, but they cannot be disturbed because they are almost like a bed stabilizer in a way, the way that they grow and what type of soil that they like. And so when you find yourself in a position where you've bought this lot and you want to build and it's classified as environmental, there's not really much you can do about it. There's some criteria if it's, if you meet the criteria and it's got some setbacks to it and a distance away from it, but it's not going to come without an inspection from Duke with a secondary party that assists in that process, and we still have to go through the application process. It's not something they just come out and take a site visit for. You still go through the application process like anybody else. But when you contact me, I know to look for those things. And so we want to, before you get to that process, if you're looking for a lot, and especially if it's in the backside of a cove or near a smaller creek or that type of thing, we want to look at that first. And from a real estate standpoint, that's super important for the buyers, because then they're stuck with a beautiful lot, but they don't have any water access.
Let's say someone's got, for example, because again, every agreement's different, every transaction's different. Let's say that somebody has a 30-day due diligence period on a contract on a vacant piece of land. Is that a reasonable enough time to be able to investigate, or no, you have to wait all the way until that permit is issued before you can make any kind of...
You can call me, you can shoot me an email, I can pull up the maps and look at it in 10 seconds and know whether you've got an environmental shoreline or not. Okay. And then depending on the proximity of where that shoreline designation ends into your property, then I can know where we might have a possibility here. But it's always tricky because there's times that shoreline was classified 10 years ago. And in that last 10 years, that vegetation has completely grown over and taken over in that space. And so while it may have what's considered partial residential, and you might have what's an available space to build upon based on that map, and not until Duke comes out and actually takes a look at it and says, yes, okay, but you're not going to know until they actually come out, because it might have completely changed in the last 10 years and make it not suitable for builds.
Okay, so being a real estate agent, I have to ask you, let's say I have a buyer, we found a lot, there's no dock. How can I call you and say, hey, my client is interested in putting an offer. Can you come take a look, give us some kind of...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, and I don't harp on the environmental aspect. It's fewer and far between. It's not a prevalent issue, but it is an issue
is a possibility.
On lots of vacant lots. Existing lots,
Much easier,
that's one
of
thing.
course.
But a vacant lot that's got nothing there, and they go, I want to sell this with a permit in hand, because people think that gives them the upper hand. We know that this is permittable, and we know we can build on it. They want to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, you can call me. I absolutely can come to a site visit. We can take a look at all the parameters of that lot, and then go from what the parameters are of the lot, from the shoreline size and the environmental aspect, then we can go into the size of the structure. How big can it be based on the shoreline, the linear foot length? And then we can go into what do you want? Because most people will look at a lot and they go, this is the dock that I want and I dream of. And I love making that dream come true. That's the part of my job that I absolutely love, is being a part of that memory process and knowing for the life, for the rest of their lives and their grandchildren's lives, that they're going to love living on the lake. What the worst part is to come in and say, I am so sorry, you have spent $500,000 on this lot and you can't build anything on it. And that's the worst. So we want to make sure that when they're coming into that scenario, we check it out first.
And this is one thing, by the way, very often I have buyers wonder that, I'm going to buy a lot, not necessarily on the lake, but also on the lake. I'm going to buy and I'm going to build. And I tell people it can be way harder than people think. Let's say if it's on the lake and there's no dock, you have to find out, even a regular, percolation test to see if you need a well, a septic tank, how big, how many bathrooms, and people don't, or bedrooms, how people don't realize that many times buying a lot, just during the diligence period, just to find out if and what you can build, it's much harder than what you think, because exactly, right? I'm sure people picture a beautiful covered lift and
the dream of living the lake life, and when you think you found the lot and then come to find out you can't get the size of the structure that you want to have. And I think that when you're in, I'm not in real estate. I don't, don't ask me anything about real estate, but what I do know is that from a buyer's perspective, to come in with that dream and with that thought in your mind, it is something that you should definitely visit before going to the table.
Well, you may not think you're in real estate. You do provide a vital service to people in the real estate transaction, and you can contact Erica McIntosh of Premier Permits of the Carolinas, premierpermitscarolinas.com. That's the website. And you can contact us anytime, any of the 30 hours of local content we do every week, live with local hosts. 844-STUDIO-4, and I do believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. Thanks for calling today's Real Talk. What can we do for you? Please don't yell at me.
Hey, Justin, this is William. How are you doing?
William, my brother. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Look, I'm in a unique situation. I've inherited some land over the years, my mom and dad's place, and some that I've had. So my uncle, about my uncle recently moving out of Miami and up here, and he has decided to purchase some land from me and set up a what you would call a tiny home, the modern tiny homes now. My question is for Erica. Has she run across that over down in the lake, or is it even possible down there in the lake? And zoning is a lot more strict down there, of course, in the Lake Norman area versus in the more rural areas. But has she run across any of those occasions where somebody's trying to build a tiny home on a piece of land?
When you say tiny home, are you talking stick built with a foundation, or are you talking about on a trailer here, William? Which one are you talking about?
Right now he's looking at a trailer but wanting to build a foundation. So I guess in a way it would be stick built, but it would be brought in on wheels. So that's still categorized as a modern modular or trailer, I guess you would say. I don't know.
That's awesome. We will answer the question. We're going to come up on that hard break. You know how it works here. We appreciate you calling, though, brother. It's great to hear from you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Take care.
You want to take a stab at that real quick, Erica? Or you want me to answer it as far as the real estate side goes? You tell me what you want. I'm happy to jump in for you there.
You can go first, and I can tag on.
Yeah, so like William mentioned, it's a lot about zoning, right? With the type of unit you can build as far as the structure itself, stick-built versus, let's say, a manufactured home. Manufactured home is what actually, arguably, I would say a lot of people want right now, but from a zoning perspective, harder and harder and harder to find it. Even if you have an old unit on a piece of property, you have to go through a process to replace it, and that can get challenging and difficult, especially as more teardowns happen and more stick builds get built. So we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that on the other side. Also, what we have to do, more or less.
Yes,
Is
more.
it more or
More.
less? More? Okay,
More.
she says more active and coming soon on the market. Also, Maintenance Monday.
Stay with us. Today's Real Talk with Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis will be back after these messages on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, heading into the new work week, big changes on the way in the weather department for the middle of the week. For our Monday, looking at a partly cloudy sky. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 80s. Just the low chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Most of us will stay dry, though. But for the middle of the week, are you ready for a little teaser to fall? Humidity will drop off. Dew points into the 50s. Dry weather and temperatures cooler, too. Mornings will be refreshing. Afternoons near 80. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree, Lake Norman, and Mooresville has free music this Thursday featuring a concert by Third Rail. Third Rail presents their high-energy show of rock and roll cover songs, while Langtree is open for food and drinks. Event time is 6:30 p.m., music begins at 7, and the Langtree shops off Exit 31 from I-77 are open all day. Grab your lawn chairs and enjoy Langtree Live this Thursday night with a free concert by Third Rail. Brookdale Village in Huntersville continues their Friday night Live Under the Oaks concert series with music from Dukes and Smith. The Dukes and Smith Band provides an energetic mix of pop, rock, country, R&B, and beach music. Come and enjoy all Brookdale Village has to offer with the free Dukes and Smith concert beginning at 6 p.m. Friday at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Downtown Mooresville presents the Downtown Summer Sidewalk Sale this Saturday. Join locally owned businesses for hot sales. Come shop till you drop in downtown Mooresville on Saturday. Davidson presents Concerts on the Green Saturday. The Dave Matthews Tribute Band plays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the Davidson Village Green. Enjoy this free performance on Saturday night in downtown Davidson. On Saturday, September 7th, see the top riders from the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship as they compete on a custom-built course at ZMAX Dragway. The playoff opener features a two-moto format for the 450cc class and the 250cc class, promising plenty of drama and excitement the moment the gates drop. The Super Motocross Fan Fest is a pre-race event taking place from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. where you can see the teams practice, prepare, and qualify for the playoff round and is included with your event ticket. Don't miss the biggest Super Motocross race of the year. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Now, more of today's Real Talk with Claudia Ogrizek and Justin Ckezepis on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. Thank you, William, for the phone call earlier, asking about a particular scenario for himself. Obviously, every situation is different. You want to consult the local professional in your marketplace depending on permitting and zoning and blah, 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 all those other disclosures. But generally speaking here, thinking of when you've got a home that you're going to put on a piece of dirt, there are certain requirements you got to look for. You got to go talk to your local zoning. That's best way to start if you don't have a professional you already connect with, whether you're buying the property or not. But the environmental aspect, Eric, there's got to be something to that with people, especially well and septic, I would imagine, on the lake. Can you walk through some of those environmental factors you've talked about a little bit?
Well, older lots, such as one that he might have been speaking about, depending upon the size, when they have septic and well, depending on the size, you don't have much room to move your drain field. And so in the zone, from the zoning aspect and adding what he was calling a tiny home, which it would essentially fall under the RV category, the county wants you to let them know and apply, how are you hooking up? Where's your water source coming from? Where's your solid waste going? And that's your first question. And what area are you in? Because there's a lot of older lots that have been surrounded by new development, and the zoning may not allow for those types of structures to come back in, depending on the neighborhood and what they've decided as a whole. And so, yeah, that's the first thing you got to know.
Before I put Claudia under the gun for more or less this week. So from the renovation side, do you get a lot of, how much would you say is new construction versus renovation in your world?
In regards to piers and docks? Honestly, I would say what I have seen is far more new construction, simply because the age of docks and the cost to renovate, the variance between the two is not that far off, depending upon the structure and what all they want to have done. So when you're talking about redecking a whole entire dock and you're talking about new floats and all of that, yes, you can save quite a bit of money if you only go that route. But there's some people, I mean, I've seen so many new piers come in and old ones go out just based on the age and what they want out of the structure. And the cost of materials is so high that sometimes with that cost combined with labor, you know, you might only be talking a $15,000 difference. So you could have a whole brand new structure for not that much more money.
Definitely seeing an increase, I think, on lake prices, in particular, the luxury market around Lake Norman, even Lake Wiley, higher and higher dollar amounts in the luxury sphere. We've had Grandfather
Absolutely.
Homes here on the show. Their new unit, they're building down one of the side streets at the end of Nance Road. They have a beach on that particular unit. What about that concept of beach? And you mentioned, you know, riprap, seawall, all these other kind of components that go with it. What do you see in that sphere of things for people when they come to you?
The beach is one of the most sensitive topics on the lake because people get so bent out of shape when they hear that they're not technically allowed to have one. And the reason why, again, environmental. You can't bring in a soil that's not natural to the area. The state doesn't even want mulch within the 50-foot buffer, okay? You got zone 1 and zone 2. They're very particular about what elements are brought into those areas because it brings microorganisms that aren't natural to the area and eventually will cause other types of growth that we don't foresee. And so while I would have loved to have had a beach my whole life on the lake, I mean, and they are so wonderful. From a technicality, they're not allowed. And it's not something but do people do it? They do. But I plead the fifth on that one.
Sure, unless it's existing.
If it's existing, then you can maintain what you've got.
That was certainly their advantage.
For sure. Yeah, they wouldn't be able. It's I don't know.
But there's no permit out there with a little check box that says beach.
That's right.
That doesn't exist.
So if you don't have one that can be grandfathered in essence, you're pretty much looking at nothing.
And if we have a minute, I'd like to talk about that term grandfathered, and I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
Grandfathered is the term that people use casually and often, but it's not actually a term that's recognized by Duke. The term that they use now that you're going to see is called non-conforming, and it relates to their criteria that is outlined and what is allowable and buildable by Duke Lake Services. Okay, so when someone says, "Oh, I'm grandfathered in, I can do whatever I want," maybe. What you can do is if your structure is over 1,000 square feet, that's when people say I'm grandfathered. And what that means is if you want to maintain that size structure, you can apply and rebuild exactly what you've got in that same footprint. No changes, no modifications, okay? It's exactly what you already have, but it could be a brand new structure and it might cost you $150,000 to go that size, but that's the only way you can maintain that size. If you want to change your dock from this monstrous seating area ramp and slip to something a double decker and you're going to bring it back in, you want more life out of your dock and usability, features, accessories, that type of thing, you're going to have to bring it into what's called the criteria, the conforming criteria, which is 1,000 square feet or under if you have 100 linear feet of shoreline. So when people say I'm grandfathered in, well, it doesn't exactly mean you're going to get exactly what or you can just get this again.
Right.
So it all again falls back into those guidelines that they set forth.
That's great.
I know we're not supposed to break for the lake, but they're talking about this. There is a house when you're coming from Mooresville to Cornelius and Davidson, a house by, what is the name of the marina? I remember going with a buyer maybe 3 years ago, and they have this, very, very long kind of walkway to their dock, and I see they are redoing it. And I'm guessing it was grandfathered in, but I'm super curious because it was falling up. Like we were walking and we were afraid of falling in the lake, and now they are redoing. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's,
Are we talking about hardscaping, landscape, pavers, steps going
like
down?
Like a pier. You're talking about a pier.
Oh, the pier.
Long pier that went to a dock.
Okay.
And if you come down 77 and you look to your right, I think it's before, what is the name of the marina? There's a huge marina and then two houses, and this is it. There are a bunch of boats in front of it.
So, criteria. Let's talk criteria. You got very basic rules, and your first rule when you want to talk about length and size, we talked about the 100 linear feet of shoreline equates to 1,000 square feet or less. 75 feet of shoreline up to 750. Okay. But when we talk about the length and the projection of your pier, so you can have a long pier, but you can only have up to 120 feet into the cove, or 1/3 the width of the cove, of the mouth of the cove. So if you've got a narrow cove, you can only have whatever 1/3 of that is, because you have to allow for your side, the other side, mooring on each side for boats to get into their spaces, and passing through the cove. And so those are your two first basic fundamental rules when it comes to determining what size and length pier that you can have. Then we go into all the other details. And those are the first things you probably want to find out.
Let me give you a hypothetical real quick. Let's say a buyer's looking at a property, and whether it's a single individual lot, or let's say a neighborhood that has a commercial pier or a shared community pier structure, we'll say there's supposed to be a Duke tag on the dock. Is that correct? Is that a correct statement? I hear that term a lot, like a Duke tag.
Well, first and foremost, your dock is not your dock.
Oh, that's
it
true.
It's property of Duke Energy Lake Services. And while it is your dock because you pay for it, it's almost like a lease. It's almost in the concept of you're paying for a structure that isn't yours, but you're responsible for maintaining it and upholding all the mandates of the lake as a user. And you will sign what is called a user agreement.
And that's the agreement between the property owner or the HOA and then Duke. That's
correct.
That relationship.
As your agreement to utilize this.
Yes.
And so
but as far as the dock tag goes,
yes. The tags, yes. So those changes started happening, I think, the late 80s, as I can remember, because I've been here since 84, and I remember my parents and people, getting all in an uproar when Duke started making some major changes, and that's mine, and the concept of what was theirs and why it changed. Was a big thing back then. And so I understand where people's frustrations came in from. But yes, a tag will come into play. Every dock should have a tag at this point now on the lake. And if you don't have one, it either fell off through the years or it was so old that it never got one. And but that's the first thing that Duke is going to ask for in the permit process, because that allows them to research previous permitting history. Now, if you build a new one, tear the old one down, build a new one, after it gets inspected, they're going to come out and put a new one on there for you.
Let's say there isn't a tag. And you're looking at a structure. What do you do? Is there any hope for that buyer with that structure?
Yeah, but that's the first thing that Duke wants, because it helps them know what was previously permitted, what was applied for, what's been allowed, what was there beforehand, and who the owners were. Because then we start talking about transfers of ownership. Because when you sell a house, it doesn't mean the dock comes into your name. And that's a separate process for the buyers to get it transferred to their name.
If you want to learn about that process, you're going to have to reach out to Erica, Premier Permits of the Carolinas, premierpermitscarolinas.com, because Claudia's got to answer the question. 500,000 or less by county, looking at Mecklenburg County, active coming soon in the local MLS, more or less than last week.
1501.
Last week was 1,453, and she says more this week. And you are
wrong. I'm always wrong.
Correct. Yay! 1,575. It's funny that we get excited about this in a county with a population of 1.1 million, but we are excited about that increase of, let's say, just over 100 units there in the marketplace.
I know, in 1 week. It's crazy.
We've solved the market problems. We also need to help people take care of their house maintenance Monday. What you got? 30 seconds, go.
Septic tank. Make sure you inspect your septic tank every 3 years maybe, and pump it every 3 to 5 years. If you have trees around it, make sure you check, because the roots can break it, destroy it. So keep your septic tank well taken care of.
And if you don't want to go out with your own vacuum and suck out your septic tank, you call Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate to bring you the professionals. Professionals like Erica McIntosh of Premier Permits of the Carolinas, premierpermitscarolinas.com. See you next week.
Thank you.